So this next comment is from Nelson D. And Nelson said, bless her heart for being that ignorant. If a girl has a high body count, she opens Pandora's box. They have a lesser chance for pair bonding, and they tend to not be able to stay in a LTR.
Long-term relationship, that's what it means.
Long-term relationship. Always moving from guy to guy. When the woman gives too much of herself to random men, she will have nothing left to give to her husband. These are men that also run into this problem, having a high body count. There are men. Let me think about that one.
So people, men and women that have sex with a lot of people, 60 and up, don't tend to pair bond as well, is what he's saying. And statistics and studies show that, I suppose, that having lots of sexual partners means that you are not able to pair bond. I think that's so subjective. I think people change in their life based on their experiences. Imagine a college girl or a college frat boy, and they have sex with like different people every weekend. They're out just experiencing life. Maybe they grew up in a really Christian culture, like a really strict home, and they weren't allowed to go out or stay out late. And they're finally in college, and they're having fun, experiencing, and they can rack up body counts in college over 4 years if you think about it.
That 52 weeks in a year.
That does not reflect who they're going to be in life. You're 4 years in college, or you're a young person being sexually active for your first time. Or maybe it would be the girl who has the single mom who doesn't care how late she stays out, and she's kind of sleeping around, and you know, those kinds of girls in high school that can do whatever they want. They don't have a lot of parental structure. Does that necessarily dictate who they're going to be as adults and their ability to pair bond? What do you think, Gracie? You're that age now.
I think when you're bringing a husband into it, saying that if she gives all herself to other men, she won't have enough to give to her husband. But people earn these, or not earn, that's a bad way to say it. People gain this body count over time. Like, it's not all like in like one night or a week. It's like over time it grows. So I don't actually know what point I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying to say, like, her husband's long term. At my age,
right?
Like, a husband is in like a long time from now. I'm not thinking about that.
That's what I was thinking. Your high school and college days. Imagine you don't get married till you're 32. You're talking about like 15 years of being sexually active. You're gonna be out having a good time. Does that dictate whether you're gonna be a faithful, loyal, or wife or husband, or does that dictate whether a woman has anything left to give her husband? She's going to be experienced and knowledgeable and strong and smart, and she's going to know what she wants. And maybe these guys don't like that. Maybe they want a quiet woman who doesn't ask questions.
There are also obviously guys that don't have a lot of experience with women. They have a model of the world or a model of the way they want women to be, and they're responding to that, and they feel intimidated by it. The vibe that I see is these are the guys that watch the jocks, the popular good-looking dudes, bang half the cheerleaders in high school, and they wanted to be that guy. They wanted to know what it was like, and now they're here learning this stuff from me. And you can tell they're pissed off. They're bitter. They feel like they didn't get what they felt they deserved. They didn't get enough of the women that they deserved. They didn't get the pretty girl that they always wanted. And because their body counts are low, they feel because the reality is for women, it's just any night they go out, they can just, all they have to do is say yes and they go home with a guy, because the guys are always approaching women. And most of these guys are guys that didn't have that experience, that didn't have many, if any, experiences going out to a bar or a nightclub or a party at a friend's house or whatever and meeting a chick and clicking and just going home and hooking up and never seeing her again. And so when they see a beautiful, desirable woman and they have the impression that she's had several guys that she's been with, they feel intimidated by it because that's not their experience. And so in order to knock the woman down and so they don't feel so bad about themselves, they're like, oh, well, she's got a high body count. She's a slut. She's a whore. She's been run through. The whole football team banged her or whatever. And I, and they're Mr., White Knight, Mr. Perfect man. But in the reality is that they didn't have the confidence. Maybe they didn't develop their body or their physique. Because the reality is I think it's 74% of Americans are either obese or overweight. And I look back at, you can look at video from the 1980s when we were growing up, and like even people I went to high school with, there was a handful of people in our class that were fat or overweight. And now it's the majority of people in the population, your dating pool or the sexual market, if you will, is most people are overweight or out of shape, and they don't work out and they don't take care of themselves just because of the diet. And so if you're a guy that's healthy and fit and in shape, like, me being a 51-year-old dude, I see 19 girls Gracie's age checking out my ass, or old ladies staring at me because I wear tight fitting clothes and they can tell I'm in shape and I look good. And obviously as a man, I like that. But if I was just a bunch of blubber walking around, I would be totally invisible to most women.
I would agree. I would agree that the serving sizes in restaurants became ridiculously larger. And I would also agree that the younger people these days have a lot more sedentary lifestyle than we did as kids. We were literally kicked out of our house. We weren't allowed to come back in the house until the streetlights came on. We were a lot more active. We didn't have video games and all this. I mean, we did have video games, but our life did not revolve around gaming and stuff like that, But you know what I'm thinking about with this comment? I just thought of something. Men are very sex-centric in the way that they think. Like
They're very visual.
They see the eyes through. Like, I don't think that sex is as important to women as it is to men in relationships. Women don't choose men based on sex. Ever, ever, ever. It's somebody who gives them attention, validation, security, safety, companionship. I think men, sex is number one thing that they're looking for. They judge all relationships, like sex is top three things probably. When they're meeting a woman, sex comes into play.
Also, this might be kind of graphic, but most girls don't get off and while having sex at all.
Right. There's such a small amount of women who can.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why men love it.
Also, our sex drive is not nearly as high as, we're 1/10 of the sex drive of men. So sex doesn't run our life. It's actually not a deciding factor in too many things in our life, I don't think. And so this is a perfect example of somebody who's seeing the world through different eyes. Like, this man is thinking, this woman has slept with so many men, she's not going to have anything to give to her husband. Through the woman's eyes, she's having fun, spending time with people, but sex doesn't mean as much probably to her. What means more to a woman is actually the communication and the like she's going to pair bond with somebody who gives her what she needs, and sex is not part of the equation at all. I don't think women pair bond for sex. Sadly, that's like a weird thing when God created men and women. We don't match in that way with sex. It's like not one of our top things. I never picked a guy to be a permanent partner or have a relationship with a guy because of sex. Some of them were better, and some of them were amazing, and some of them were okay. But all the guys that I dated long term and loved and fell deeply in love with had nothing to do with sex. It's not on our radar. That's not how we choose people.
There's some nymphos out there, though.
Some people use it for power, I think. Women use sex because it's power. It gives them power over men because it's so important to men. And that's how they
I like that.
Get attention.
I haven't thought of it that way.
You just now realized that, girl?
That's why they like to feel powerful.
Free tip of the day from Mom.
Nymphomaniacs are they're on it. They're that's sex addicts, right?
Yeah, I've only known one or two in my life. It's not super common with women, but it's out there. I know the guys are looking for those girls, but they don't want to marry them.
Yeah.
They can't pair
because
bond.
they have too high of
They
a body
can't
count.
pair bond. But that's maybe they can't be controlled. I don't know.
That was
Because they're
a good
so
point.
experienced, they can't be told what to do because they know better. Maybe I don't know.